What is going on, Abby? How are you?
Hello, good. How are you?
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us for email camp. Your first time. What have you think so far? How has it been?
It's been so much fun and yeah, first
Love it.
timer, nervous but excited.
Oh, you're gonna do great. We are gonna have so much fun with you today. So I appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah.
Cool, y'all. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and let Abby go ahead and take this away. Interstellar Communications, introducing modular email design systems to non-coders. So don't forget to throw those questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll make sure we get towards them towards the end of the presentation. I'm gonna go ahead and see what's going on with my space station because we're having issues with it. But I'll go ahead and let Abby take it away. So Abby, see you in a little bit, okay?
All right.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I'm so pumped to be here today. I am a first timer and I'm here to talk to you about interstellar communications. So, we're going to talk about modular email design systems and introducing them to non coders. I know it is email development day, but I am not an email developer, but I am an aspiring one. And modular email design is really what got me on this path. So, let's talk about it. Oh, I guess first, hello, I'm Abby. I am a senior marketing associate at Splash Financial. I've been in marketing in some capacity for about 10 years. Majority of that has been in email. I like to call it my first marketing love, if you will. And primarily, I've been in the nonprofit industry. And obviously, currently, I work for a fintech company. So we are an online marketplace for student loan refinancing and personal loans. So if you're looking in the market for those things, check us out. And please connect with me on LinkedIn, exchange memes with me on Twitter, all of those things. I am, just a quick side note, starting to do some freelance copywriting on the side. So feel free to email me if that's something that you're in the market for too. All right, so here we go. Today we are going to talk about what it means in the age of mini spacesuits as email marketers. We'll go into just the 101 of what a modular email design system is, what the benefits are, and something very, very important, how can you make the case to invest in it? And then I'll share a non-coder success story, and I am the non-coder. So, what I mean by the age of mini spacesuits is this is just an on theme way of saying that we wear many hats. And for many of us, the coding expertise might not be one of them. Or maybe the hat slash helmet, it fits, but it doesn't fit right and it's not all there and it slips off. So I'm going to kick this thing off with a slide to validate a lot of us out there. And these are just some high level challenges that I really see repeated across a lot of marketing forums that I relate to. Of course, might not be everyone's experience, but I think a big challenge that we face is limited resources. So we have really big dreams, but we have small budgets and maybe small teams. Another challenge is standing out in the inbox. When there's billions of emails sent every day, how do you stand out when the competition is strong? This challenge I like to refer to as unicorn status. So the weight of the expectation to kind of be an expert in a lot of things: coding, copywriting, design. You've got SMS, compliance, deliverability. The list really goes on. This is just a fun, lighthearted one. There's just simply not enough hours in a day. And I think that we can all most definitely relate to that. So, nevertheless, we are here to talk about email design systems. So, for starters, I wanted to talk about a little bit of industry insight here. So, this is from a recent research report from MailJet. It's called Inbox Insights. It's really got a lot of good insight. So, definitely check it out. And one of the questions was, what is the biggest contributor to the success of your email program? And the respondents selected three. And one of the top ones was design and copy. And that same research insight tells us that some of these design and development challenges are mainly around responsive emails, inconsistent rendering, and dark mode. The list kind of goes on, right? And there's just thousands and thousands of ways an email can display based on an email client. So, how can we improve these challenges that we face so that we're more confident in the contribution to our highly successful email program? Hence, modular email design 101. Disclaimer, I do not know this person, but I really love this photo. We're always working, we're always getting it done, right? Even if we're in space, we've got a laptop. So you may be wondering, what is modular email design system? What is it anyway? Why do I care, Abby? I'll answer that for you. Really, the definition that I like to land on is that it's kind of a library of modular components, or building blocks, if you will. I see it referred to a lot as Lego blocks, which is also a really good top tier metaphor. And you can combine those blocks together to create a variety of emails, but still maintaining that consistent brand look and feel. So once you have that set up, it really provides an intuitive interface where non-coders like me can really visually comprehend and reuse and rearrange these design elements. So here's a little visual of some of our Lego blocks, if you will, here at Splash. We've got some buttons, some, quote boxes, social icons, lots of different things. We'll see more how those come together later in the presentation. And then you can see on the left side is our main HTML template. I kind of like to call that, for whatever reason, the skeleton template, and it is spooky season, so it does feel very relevant to still refer to it as that. So again, we'll see more on how this comes together. But first, let's talk about the benefits of modular email design. And I want to approach this from kind of two different angles: the benefits on your production, but also remember that we are all human, and personal and team development is also really important. So we're going to talk about the benefits of both. So a lot of these might speak for themselves, but here is just a huge part of what I experience for the benefits on our production. Time. We save so much time once this system was set up. There's way less time testing emails over and over again. We have all been there. We have sent ourselves test messages after test messages. I spend a lot less time doing that. And now I can focus more on pulse checking, retesting, optimizing, adapting to new industry changes, testing new design elements. The list really goes on. Another huge benefit, which I'm sure you've heard before, is the consistency. So when all of these visual elements are aligned, the visual identity is just not out of pocket with each email. You have this setup that you've implemented that has some tried and true tested modules, and that means that you can reuse them without the risk of things getting a little too chaotic visually. And another big benefit is adaptability. So we are able to adapt to changing business needs by being able to create emails faster and also update emails faster. And if you haven't been here in your email career yet, I am pretty confident that you will, when we all have that moment that we need to send that oops email. And that's extremely beneficial to be able to adapt to that and save yourself some time. And as it's been mentioned a lot before in some of these presentations, there are many parts of email where you can really reduce the errors or reduce the risk of errors. And modular email design to me is one of those. So again, working with reusable components, and you're not retesting things every single time. And everybody needs an inspirational quote mid-presentation. And I had to pick this one because it says Interstellar in it, but I also really like it too. So interstellar journeys begin with a single step beyond our limitations. And again, I am speaking with, I hope, a unique experience to you as a non-coder but aspiring coder. And it took a single step to explore this and really own this project for me to really be inspired to learn. All right, moving on. So benefits on team and professional development. New skill development, exactly what I just spoke to. You might have team members that if they're involved in this project implementation, they're going to learn new things. And for me, it was just really energizing and empowering to learn. And a big part that I like to share is that whenever I was started to create some new components, because I had really great code to work off of, I was able to troubleshoot, and that was such a beneficial way of learning. And dare I say, it was fun, and it still is. So I'm not yet a pro, but this has really sparked a new passion that I didn't really know that it would. And another big benefit for your team development is cross-functional learning. So that was really interesting that, not only as a non-coder, I could gain more insight into how code works, but I also learned more about design. And then some of the creative team members learned more about some of the challenges that we face in email production and what our opportunities are. So this really enriches a team's collective skill set, having this process in place, and promotes a really authentic, holistic understanding of the email creation process. And holistic, I know it's kind of a buzzword, but one of my favorites, so it's fine. And a big one, space for creativity. I like to say when you free up production time, you free up minds. And what that results in is more time for content and copy. So when we think about the slides before about how copy was a top and is a top contributor to a successful email program, this is where that benefit really comes in. And then another kind of unexpected one is the training efficiency that comes along with this. So think about as your program grows or as your team makeup changes, an intuitive system like this can make training and onboarding a lot easier. So it can, in turn, also allow you to hire a diverse team of individuals with different strengths other than coding, or maybe not really any coding. So this system makes it a lot easier to train. Again, very intuitive, and a lot of people can get used to it. So I thought that that's just a really great benefit for your company. All right, so I'm sure you're wondering, this all sounds really great and well. I understand what modular email design is. How do I make the case to invest in this? So don't worry, I got your back. Let's talk about it. This was kind of the ultimate goal that I approached as I realized we have some big projects coming down the pipeline and we need to improve our email production process. And it kind of landed on this goal, right? How can we boost productivity, reduce risk of errors, and really magnify the company's competitive edge? Like we talked about in the previous slide, the challenge of standing out. So how can we really quantify those elements? And here we go. So here's part of kind of the questions that I asked myself and brainstormed with our wider team about, and wanted to share these to give you some thought starters. So not only is it always just a really beneficial exercise to evaluate these from time to time, so you're always continuously improving your program, but it also helps you, demonstrate the value of your email program. So anyway, these are some of the questions that I asked. Some of them may be a little obvious. What was our email production timeline? I thought about where are the gaps in our workflow? What contributes to the lag time? And a lot of that came down to email build out. And I'll kind of group 2 and 3 together. When you're talking about what opportunities are you missing because of that time constraint, think about not only just things that bring in revenue. Maybe it's a net new campaign or optimizing an existing one. Think outside the box. Is your team missing out on learning opportunities, time to cross-train, time to take on other responsibilities? Is it really difficult to stand out in the inbox because you're working with, outdated, not optimized design or code? So think through really what's possible. Maybe imagine if this cut your time in half. What would those opportunities look like for your company? And what would maybe be the short and long-term cost savings? I want to give a really big tip that you can absolutely Google email production or email ROI cost calculators that can help you make this case. There's a lot of different formulas, a lot of different ones out there. And some of them will, focus on evaluating your in-house cost because it's more than your external. It's your staff in-house and your overall, overhead costs, the approval time, the design time, the request time. So there are a lot of calculators out there that can kind of help you quantify your time. And next, think about, do you, compete for internal resources? And not in an unhealthy way, but does your company maybe have a web developer, but not an email developer? And steal them from time to time so they can dip into email and help you with that code. Does that take away from some larger goals or some strategic focus that they have on their plate as a priority? So how does that impact your company's bottom line? Think about that. And then I thought about, what is email's impact on other channels? So do you drive traffic to your website, and does that result in, an enhanced customer experience like Mark was talking about? And does it result in, traffic to your blog? Do you increase your social reach because you're driving people from email to social? So many things. Again, how can you really quantify the channel impact just outside of email? So I also want to note really quick in the same vein, another example that was helpful for me working in the financial space, transactional emails especially really serve as a very important role when it comes to compliance and regulation. So there was a really big benefit in making the case for emails that, there was less room for error and there were quick changes, gave us the ability to adapt to those quick changes. So think about things that are industry specific. So I will group the last two together. Think about if you have a lot of emails coming down the pipeline. Do you have future rebranding coming? Is there going to be a surge because there's a strategic focus? And what is coming down the line? Hold a brainstorm with your team and those are involved and contribute really in any way to your email process and dig into those answers. Okay, so the fun part, a non-coder. Hi, it's me. I'm the non-coder. A success story. So a little bit of context. There was a really big opportunity that came for our email program and the opportunity to implement a new system with a rebrand that was coming. But also, plot twist, prior to this rebrand, we also had a new product launch and we still needed to build a pretty large amount of new emails for that product launch. And the majority of those were transactional. So I thought, why not implement a modular system in this existing brand and for this new product so we can build those efficiently, and then we're ready to update those necessary elements and duplicate them, etc., for the new brand. So I'd really expedite things and allow us to make quick updates. So overall, the goal, we want to establish this robust foundation with this system and just help maintain alignment with the emerging identity as we go. So every story starts with the beginning, right? So before this implementation, as you can kind of see, we had some room for improvement. You might not actually, now that I say that, be able to see here that the mobile responsiveness improvement was needed. dark mode didn't really have that down yet. We had work to do with accessibility and didn't want to use images in all the places that we were using them. And the biggest thing is we were just working with some outdated templates, and that required duplicating them every single time, editing the code, and just no ability for global updates. So here is how we tackled it. First and foremost, we decided what made the most sense for us was to hire a freelancer to help us with this strong foundation and setup. And I know that like Email Geek Slack is life. It is life. So that was a really great place to see who provided these kind of services. And I have to give a huge shout out to Ann Tomlin from Emails Y'all. She is presenting today, and she was this wonderful freelancer that we used to set this up for us. So she's amazing. Shout out to her. Next, we kind of audited our current state. So what are the components that we really needed for this new brand launch that we know we also needed when it came, or for our new product launch that we also know we needed in the future for the rebrand. So think about some of the standard things like, your hero image block, your header, your footer, the layout columns that you need, and those variations. So we really went through that. And we decided we'll tackle the transactional first. That was really our trampoline template, as I like to call it. And it was kind of the jumping point for everything. So we had our freelancer, the wonderful Anne, mimic this same design in the previous slide, but better, and fix the issues that we had and just made it more optimized. And then this is also implementation, but advice. We really kept the future in mind. So when we think about the future, where do we need to put guardrails? Is it necessary? When we put the email footer together, should we lock that? I work in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, so I know some of the terminology might be a little bit different for everybody, but lock is something that we can do. And then we use reference blocks in Marketing Cloud, so those really allow for the quick global updates, but we lock those so as not to, or as to avoid some of the potential accidents there that could happen. And lastly, as we tackled it, we documented. And the obvious thing to document is just your whole process, right? How it works, how the build out works. But mainly I'm really talking about not losing sight of future phases to optimize this. So we knew that we had a lot of creative ideas for email design, but we really needed to stay focused, keep our eyes on the prize with a strong setup and project execution. So I made a point to really keep track of those ideas that came, the really creative ideas, and in a little parking lot, if you will, another good buzzword. So the goal of this was really to ensure that all parties were heard, no one was dismissed due to these time constraints and the focus on implementation. So it avoids the distraction and also helps you not lose sight of how to optimize things. All right, so here is a bird's eye view of the evolution of our emails. And on the far left is that original slide that I shared that had, some of our very original emails that needed some work. In the middle is the modular design of our existing brand that was on the left, but way better code, much more optimized, way more cleaner, and non-coder friendly, if you will. So the very far right is the exciting part. So we launched a new brand. It was really exciting, really fun. As you can see, really, really different. So because we had a really strong modular setup, I was able to, as a non-coder, still duplicate these elements and update them. And it was just made it really seamless to go this direction. And I will say too that it was a doozy, but troubleshooting is a really great way to learn. Even though things are doozies, I was diving into something really brand new. And like I said, it really sparked this passion. So here is kind of the evolution that we got to. So me and these dancing little astronaut figurines are going to share some of the wins that we had in our first quarter of the modular implementation. So like I said, we had a new product launch. So we were able to build like 30 transactional emails for this new product launch. Huge benefit of this is that it gave me, as a non-coder, a lot of practice in that modular design. So I was really getting familiar with those existing components that I know that I was going to charge the initiative to, create, duplicate, and tweak for that new brand. And then the next big thing came for the rebrand, and I built over 100 emails in about a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And that was really my primary focus. So once we had our brand guidelines and all of those things, I was able to build all this in the new brand. So of course, there are these elements that you need to optimize and tweak for new things like new colors and what that means for dark mode. And bringing it back earlier to when we were talking about web developers, then maybe you need to steal to get them to dip a little bit in email development. A web developer on staff helped me problem solve some larger coding things. But the thing about that, again, let's tie it back to making that investment. That was a really big benefit on team development because we learned and we problem solved together. And lastly, I want to note too that a lot of times if I run into roadblocks, I go to the email geek community. Everyone's so resourceful and willing to help. So know that you're not alone if you experience this unique project like I did. So then I want to note, or not then, but at the same time, we had the ability to set up half of these new rebranded emails with A/B tests. This is one of my favorite things about modular email design system is it's really manageable to set up testing during build out. So number of buttons, button text, CTA placement, even just some of those basic manageable designs. That was a huge part of the benefit and really, again, made it so much easier to iterate new versions. And lastly, just a big win was we were able to make these new versions, like I said, much more manageable. And so I was able to really independently handle personalization, very enhanced personalization, because I could really handle the build out. So I focus my time on leveraging more data to hyper personalize our emails versus spending so much time building them. So that really did wonders for some of our key customer journeys. And we saw, double click-through rates. So I really wanted to highlight that. So these are some of the biggest wins in our first quarter. And then overall wins, I don't know that I need to spend a whole lot of time on this because they really do speak for themselves. We had faster turnaround. I feel like we, decreased our standard build out time by like 80%. We improved the customer experience because when you have improved rendering, accessibility, all those things, better emails mean a better experience and can lead to better conversion. I really want to say like better pizza, Papa John's. I don't know. When I say that, it's fine. Another big thing already addressed, streamlined testing, improve segmentation. That's because we freed up the time there to really streamline that. And I love yesterday that Emily was talking about the culture of testing. This is such a great way to foster that culture because it's so manageable. And it's easier to scope projects when you know what's possible, what might take a little bit longer with the components that you need, what doesn't exist. Obviously, your business does need what it needs, but it's way easier to communicate what's low, medium, high effort. And lastly, multi-channel inspiration. When you're working in email design like this, you really have flexibility to try some new things and other channels can benefit from that. So you could even repurpose some of your modules into social posts, little things like that. I know I'm talking so much, so I'm going to kind of breeze through this, and I really want to focus on some of my key takeaways. This is really after reflecting on this implementation experience as a non-coder and what I really recommend to non-coders or aspiring coders. Take this initiative and all the things that we talked about and own that implementation. And just know that you don't have to be a coder to communicate with a coder to execute a project, whether that's a freelancer or internal dedicated position or someone who, is on contract, whatever makes the most sense for your business. Non-coders can learn a lot when talking to an expert that's bringing this to life. So this will really increase my confidence around discussing it. So I recommend own this project, pitch it to your boss who you need to pitch it to, and show them what you're made of. Take it and run with it. And it does not end there. Conduct regular maintenance. As you're learning things, be sure to go back, audit some of your existing Lego blocks, and then challenge yourself by working on new ones. I use Litmus for testing. So whether I'm doing something new or optimizing something, and when I get stuck, again, I reach out to our email community. So just know maintenance, very, very important, since email rendering and email providers are constantly changing and design is always evolving. So again, troubleshooting there, great way to learn. Make it part of like your quarterly or your annual goals. And Mark really touched on this one. From the coding perspective, always lead with accessibility. It's always your priority. If you're adjusting code, you're creating new code, you're training others, it stays number one. So do not forget that. And I know that this was recorded, so I know that some of these resources you can go back to that recording and look into, but some of these, courses, they're either like free trials or free, or some of them are paid. And I haven't finished all of them, but I feel very confident in recommending them. And the rest are just some really lists of good resources. Again, I work in Marketing Cloud. Some of this is Marketing Cloud specific, and some other accessibility places that I regularly visit. Thank y'all so much. As a little treat, this is my dog, June, on the left, and my cat, Stevie, on the right. They did not actually go to outer space. I made this photo just to be super clear. And on their behalf, we all thank you for listening to me. I really hope that this inspires your team to look into this efficient process and let your non-coders thrive and learn too. So connect with me on LinkedIn as well. That's where that code goes.
Love it. Abby, you did so good for your first time at email camp. Love it, love it, love it. Awesome, awesome. Love it, love it. Also, don't forget, y'all, email analysis is great for testing, by the way. So just check that out. But Abby, really quick before you get going here in just a moment, we got a question for you. This one, we only got so much time though, but I want to throw this up here. So Priscilla wanted to know, what are the must-have modular email blocks and nice-to-have email blocks according to you? What do you think?
Ooh, the must-have, you can really start with, canned spam requirements. What are the legal requirements? What does your footer need to include? View in browser, unsubscribe, all those things. I mean, a lot of ESPs aren't going to let you send something out anyway if it doesn't have those requirements. So start with the basics, like your header and your footer, and nail down your text, like your headlines and your subheads, and some of those necessary ones. And I think nice to have, gosh, it's hard to say. Maybe some of the components of images, which I know, we don't use all image emails, but nail down some of the things that could enhance your messaging and blocks that you can use where you're not having to redesign and reinvent the wheel with images.
Gotcha.
Hopefully
All right, I'm
that's
going to throw you one more actually really quickly. Let's see.
okay. And y'all feel free to email me if I, don't have time for anything, or message me on LinkedIn too.
Yes, for sure. Please give her a follow. Make sure you check her out online. Let me throw you this question really quick. Evan wanted to know, what are some of your favorite personalization options?
Ooh, I assume we're talking about. Okay, so for my company, we are an online marketplace for refinancing and loans. So we really leverage the personalization in our data from applications. So we can really speak to what are you applying for, maybe what you're exploring amount wise or the use of your loan. So those are some of the personalization data points. What information do we have that we can validate that we're listening, and throughout their application process help educate them along the way. So hopefully that is kind of what you're talking about.
Yes, love it, love it, love it. Awesome. Abby, thank you so much for coming by to Email Camp Mission Control. We seriously appreciate you taking the time out of your time, out of your busy day to be here with us. So we seriously appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hope you had a great time. We hope we get to see you in the future. All right.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. All right. We're gonna have a quick break, so I'm gonna head over to that break session. I'll meet you over there in just a moment.